I've always wanted to do a video on lost media. Recently, I was sent tons of information from a Portuguese user on Discord by the name of Urubensi about the pilot of a late 2000s, early 2010s cartoon known as Jimmy Two Shoes. He sent me lots of really good information that supposedly hasn't been spread around too much across the lost media community. This video is basically me doing what I can to get this valuable information out to the English-speaking part of the community. So, let's begin. So, do you remember Jimmy Two Shoes? Honestly, I don't. It was a series about a boy in a land full of monsters who just wanted to have some fun. It was a series that stood out very little in its broadcast and nowadays is often forgotten. It originally aired in 2009 in the United States and Canada on Disney XD as an original series, but for some reason it came on Nickelodeon in Brazil. What's interesting about this series is that, rumor has it, the initial concept was going to be something quite different, a story worthy of a creepypasta. They say that the land of monsters was originally intended to be hell. As you can see in this concept art, the pilot episode of Jimmy Two Shoes would not be an innocent children's series. It would be in hell, and there would be some very gory scenes. The pilot is a 6-minute test that was launched in 2006 for investors. When Disney took possession of the project, they changed all of the adult tones of the series to something a little bit more familiar. These conceptual images have been leaked on the internet since the series' launch, showing the various changes that the series has had in relation to its characters and themes. In one of the images we can see the titular Jimmy suffering horrible accidents, having his brain exposed and even his face being torn off. Another thing we can see is that the character Heloise, the romantic interest, has a look comparable to that of a serial killer. We can also see an image of Jimmy and Heloise on a boat floating in this hellish lava while other spirits appear to be floating away in the background. In this other image we can see the character Lucy, who would actually be called Lucifer, and her son Beezy, Jimmy's best friend, would actually be called Beelzebub. In this image we can see Beelzebub electrifying Jimmy. In this other image we can see the spirits of hell, which include murderous clowns, Hitler, Jason Voorhees, and many others. These images have been circulating around the internet for many years at this point, but there is no information about where the pilot actually is. This pilot has always appealed to our Portuguese friend, and as several cartoon pilots have already been found, some with Portuguese fan dubs on Urubensi's channel in fact, he decided to start a search for that pilot. So sit down and get ready, because I will pass on all the information that we have acquired so far through the search for the original Jimmy Two Shoes. First, there is a page on the Lost Media Wiki about the series itself, which has a lot of information about the pilot, like a synopsis about what it could be, and different conceptual arts, as well as some information said by the creators of the series, namely that they don't even have copies of that pilot. The wiki leaves a link to the blog where the concept art was posted, the Diamond Arts blog, which has the concept art of the backgrounds, and the Minion Factory blog, which has the concept art of the characters. The Minions Factory blog is run by the artist Phil Postma, who also made these concept arts. Knowing this, Uru contacted Phil to inquire about the pilot and received the following response.
I have nothing, and I have no idea what it could be. The company that produced it doesn't exist anymore, and I don't know about the show anymore. Just good luck with your search.
After that, Uru sent a lot of text with questions, but didn't get an answer. In 2018, on the Anime Superhero Forum, user Glasscake said that he had contacted by email some of the creators of the series, Edward K. and Phil Postma, who we mentioned earlier. In Edward K.'s email, he asked if he had a copy of the pilot and if Jimmy's voice actor was different from the series. Edward K. responds by saying he did not have any copies, as investors did not allow it in fear that it might leak. He also says that the elements have changed because people didn't like it. I'm not sure if this means investors or test audiences or both. He says the pilot was only 6 minutes and it never aired and it was just a test, and that Jimmy's voice actor was the same. In the email to Phil Postma, Glasscake asks if he owns the pilot, and he replies that he knows about 2 minutes of the demo, but he's never seen the final product. and he doesn't have any copies. So far, we have no new information about the pilot, as none of the creators or designers had a copy. A few years later, it appeared on the wiki that the pilot was published on April 1st, 2008 on the official YouTube channel of the series. But we never found this supposed channel about Jimmy Two Shoes anywhere on YouTube. Uru tried to use Wayback Machine, but nothing was saved on this supposed YouTube channel. Uru eventually managed to reach out to a Discord username who was able to have a more in-depth conversation with Edward K. He took screenshots, which I will show you now. The show was changed in 2007. There was never any cursing in it, especially because he was always intended to be a Dudley Do-Right type. It's just that it was literally set in hell, and there were more weird, borderline personality stuff from Heloise, who'd physically torture Jimmy when she wasn't crushing on him. And there were more demons, that sort of thing. I would say it got dumbed down a lot. So for anyone who was wondering if there was any cursing, well, there wasn't. Which, when you think about it, it makes sense when you're showing it to companies like Disney. More screenshots say that Heloise was definitely meant to be like Jekyll and Hyde. The idea was that she had brain damage that caused her to be dissociative. That little mark on her forehead is the clue. In the pilot, she was the spirit of a murderess sent to hell. After apparently a quick tangent about US politics, Edward simply confirms once again that he not only doesn't have the pilot, but actually has no artwork at all related to Jimmy. After all, he says, "I create characters and wrote stories, but I'm not a designer. In fact, I had never seen the designs you sent me." Very cool. More information about some character changes were revealed, but frankly, there isn't too much more meat to look at that'd be interesting to non-fans of the series. But for a quick rundown for those who are fans, Jez was supposed to be Lucifer's wife in the pilot, and Busy was going to be mostly the same. It was also confirmed there was no death in Miseryville, just momentary destruction, and things start over. When asked if there was any kind of test audio or anything of the like, or if he knew any of the cast, Kay replies no. There were a lot of people that tried out. Kay also states that Disney was the key player, meaning that they probably owned the rights to the pilot and they probably had most of the control over it. More questions were asked about the process of finding a company that would air the show, but Edward didn't want to discuss Jimmy Two Shoes any further for personal reasons. Okay, so we got a lot of new interesting information, but unfortunately, we aren't any closer to having the pilot. I find it intriguing that the show was meant to be set in hell with gory violence, and yet it was still supposed to be a kid's show. Uru had also heard people on the forum saying they knew exactly what the pilot was about. They apparently said Jimmy was killed trying to save an old lady from being run over by a car or something, but he was mistaken for a thief. Uru actually went ahead and talked to Edward K., who revealed that the beginning was actually going to have Jimmy helping an old lady cross the street, but then she'd lose her wallet and Jimmy would come along and pick it up for her. While doing so, Jimmy gets run over by a bus, dies, and being mistaken for a pickpocket, gets sent to hell. The rest of the pilot would be Jimmy and Heloise going on a date. So now we have a lot of useful and clarifying information about the pilot, but unfortunately not the pilot itself. However, there is some hope, as Edward K. did say he'd upload the pilot to YouTube if he ever got his hands on it. Hopefully you guys found this interesting, and if there's anyone still searching for more information about the Jimmy Two Shoes pilot, I hope that you found this video useful. Big thanks to Urubensi, who made a video on this topic in Portuguese, and essentially sent me all this information to relay to you in English. Go support his work. Even if you don't speak Portuguese, you can just have the video running on mute in the background, or just leave a like. I'd love to talk more about lost media, and especially with my own research, so if there's any lost media things you want me to do a video on, just let me know in the comments or my Discord server or Twitter in the description.